Ladies and gentlemen, today we dive into something so vital, so transformative, that once you understand it, your entire life trajectory can change. Not through force, not through luck, but through conscious reprogramming of the most powerful tool you possess of your mind. The truth is, most people are living by default, not by design. They're running mental programs they didn't choose, inherited beliefs from parents, absorbed limitations from teachers, downloaded fears from media. Their minds have been programmed by environment and experience, not by intentionality. But here's the breakthrough: you can choose your programming. You can decide what thoughts get to stay. You can install new patterns that serve your purpose instead of sabotage it. The first step is awareness. You cannot change what you don't notice. So ask yourself right now, what are the dominant thoughts I think each day? Are they empowering or defeating? Are they thoughts of possibility or limitation? Are they rooted in vision or in fear? Because your brain isn't just a record of the past. It's a predictor of your future. The quality of your thoughts today is crafting the reality of your tomorrow. So if you want to reprogram your mind, you must become the architect of your focus. You have to direct your attention like a professional, not casually, not occasionally, but with purpose. Your mind believes what you consistently feed it. You tell yourself you're not good enough long enough, and your mind starts treating that as law. But what happens when you shift the narrative? When you begin telling yourself every morning, I am capable, I am focused, I am building the life I choose. Your brain starts rewiring. Neuroplasticity kicks in. Your beliefs begin to align with your actions, and momentum builds. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. And one of the greatest systems you can install is mental programming through repetition and emotional engagement. Start your day with clarity. Write your intentions. Speak them out loud. Visualize with vivid emotion who you are becoming. This isn't fluff. This is neuroscience. When you emotionally engage with an identity that aligns with your purpose, your mind starts reshaping your behavior to match it. And let's talk about language. The way you speak about your life becomes the script your mind follows. Are you using empowering language? Or are you constantly reinforcing your limitations with phrases like, I'm always late, I'm terrible at this, I can't do that? Reprogramming starts with deleting disempowering language and upgrading your internal vocabulary. Replace I can't with I'm learning. Replace I always mess this up with I'm improving every day. The words you choose are the codes you install. Now, none of this works without consistency. Transformation isn't a lightning strike, it's a rhythm. You can't meditate, visualize twice, say 3 affirmations, and expect your life to shift. Reprogramming happens the same way original programming did. Through repetition, over time, with emotion. Show up for your mind every single day. Guard it. Train, nourish it, because if you don't, the world will do it for you. And not in your favor. You must also disrupt the old patterns. When that negative thought loop kicks in, the one that says you're not ready, not smart enough, not worthy, stop. Literally stop. Interrupt it. Breathe. Ask GI, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Is it moving me toward the life I want? Most of the time, it's just an echo from the past trying to masquerade as truth. Replace it. Override it. Speak the new thought with power. You are the author now, and don't do this in isolation. Surround yourself with people who reinforce your new programming. Be around individuals who talk vision, not gossip, who push for growth, not settle for average, who call out your greatness, not your flaws. Because environment matters. You are not only reprogramming your mind, you are reinforcing it through every conversation, every book, every video, every habit you choose. Ultimately, to reprogram your mind is to reclaim your power. It's the declaration that I am not at the mercy of my past. I am not a slave to automatic thoughts. I am the conscious creator of my future. You do that and everything begins to change. Your energy, your decisions, your momentum, your results. And when that happens, you stop waiting for life to happen to you. And you start happening to life. Awareness is the foundational step in reprogramming your mind because you cannot change what you are not consciously aware of. Most people go through life reacting instead of reflecting. Their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are often habitual, automatic responses that were shaped by years of repetition, trauma, culture, environment, or upbringing. These mental patterns run like background software, silently influencing decisions, relationships, habits, and even self-worth. The problem is not that these patterns exist. The problem is that people rarely stop to examine them. When you begin the process of reprogramming your mind, the first essential action is to pause and become deeply aware of what is already running inside your mental operating system. Awareness means you become the observer of your own thoughts rather than the puppet of them. Awareness is not about judgment. It's not about labeling your thoughts as good or bad. It's about clarity. It's about understanding yourself at a deeper level so that you can take back control. When you're unaware, life feels like it's happening to you. But when you are aware, you realize that you are an active participant in shaping your experience. Your awareness becomes your power because what you can observe, you can influence, and that influence allows you to shift your identity, make better decisions, and move forward with intention rather than impulse. Without awareness, all change is accidental. With awareness, all change becomes possible. Focus is one of the most powerful forces in the human mind, yet most people let it drift aimlessly. Whatever you consistently focus on, you begin to create more of in your life. Focus is like sunlight. Unfocused, it's warm, but when you concentrate it through a magnifying glass, it becomes powerful enough to burn through anything. In the same way, when you direct your mental energy with precision, your thoughts begin to take form in the physical world. The challenge is that many people don't focus on what they want. They obsess over what they fear. They worry about what could go wrong, who might judge them, what they lack, or what they've lost. The mind, left unmanaged, gravitates toward the negative. It scans for threats. It relives pain. It replays doubt. And whatever you focus on, your brain begins to magnify. That's not just motivation talk. It's biology. Your brain has a built-in filter system called the reticular activating system, RAS, and its job is to seek out information that aligns with what you're focusing on. If you keep telling yourself that you're not enough, your mind will begin to notice and collect evidence to support that narrative. But if you train your focus toward opportunity, growth, progress, and potential, the same filter will start picking up signs that reinforce capability, creativity, and resilience. Focus is not a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. Every morning you wake up, you are given the option to focus on what builds you or what breaks you. Most people don't make this decision consciously. They roll out of bed, check their phone, and let the world hijack their attention. Their focus is shaped by headlines, gossip, comparison, or someone else's crisis. But if you're serious about reprogramming your mind, you must become the master of your focus. You must wake up and ask, what matters today? What is worth my mental energy? What thought patterns do I want to reinforce in myself? Focus requires intentionality. It means choosing your thoughts the way you choose your clothes, based on the person you are becoming. When you focus on clarity instead of confusion, your next steps reveal themselves. When you focus on solutions instead of problems, your creativity gets activated. When you focus on your strengths instead of your shortcomings, your confidence begins to rise. Focus isn't about denying reality. It's about directing your mind to what empowers you to rise above it. The more you focus on growth, the more your actions follow that direction. And And the more your actions align with growth, the faster your identity shifts. That's how people go from stuck to unstoppable, not by wishing for change, but by focusing on what they want to build rather than what they want to avoid. The quality of your focus determines the quality of your future. Your life becomes shaped by thoughts you give the most attention to. If you want to change your outcomes, you have to change what you focus on every single day. Focus is your steering wheel, and where you point it determines where you go. Repetition is the engine of mental transformation. The human brain thrives on patterns, and the more frequently a thought or action is repeated, the deeper it becomes wired into your subconscious. This is how habits are formed, beliefs are installed, and identities are shaped. Your mind doesn't distinguish between a truth and a repeated statement. It simply absorbs what is familiar. So when you repeatedly think self-defeating thoughts, they become your mental default. But here's the power in that truth. The same process that wires in negativity can be used to install purpose, confidence, and discipline. Repetition is not just something that works. It's something that must be used if you're serious about reprogramming your mind. You cannot rewire years of unconscious thinking with a few motivational moments. The brain changes through consistency, through repeated exposure to new, empowering messages that align with who you want to become. This is why affirmations, visualizations, and intentional self-talk are more than positive thinking. They are psychological tools that recondition the nervous system. When you say, I am focused, I am resilient, or I create momentum every day, and do it consistently with emotional intensity, your brain begins to believe it. Not because it's magic, but because repeated thoughts change your neural pathways. This is the science of neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reshape itself through experience and repetition. Every time you focus on a new belief and mentally rehearse it, you are strengthening that pathway. Every time you act on that belief, you deepen it further. Over time, that belief becomes automatic. It becomes who you are. But repetition only works when paired with intention. You can't just repeat something flatly or without feeling and expect change. Emotion fuels repetition. When you repeat empowering thoughts with emotion, excitement, determination, gratitude, your brain treats it as important and encodes it more deeply. So don't just think the thought, feel it. See it, live it mentally until it becomes a natural part of how you see yourself. The goal is to create a new mental normal where doubt and fear are no longer the dominant voices and confidence and vision take the lead. Repetition must also become part of your daily environment. You need visual reminders, mental cues, and consistent routines that reinforce the mindset you are building. Read your goals every morning. Speak your intentions out loud. Surround yourself with words, sounds, and people that echo your values. Reprogramming is not a one-time decision. It's a lifestyle. You're not just changing what you think once. You're building a new internal operating system that runs your life without resistance. People fail to change not because they lack motivation, but because they underestimate the power of repetition. They expect transformation to feel exciting every day, but most of the time, it's about showing up and doing the mental reps even when it feels dull or repetitive. That's where the real magic happens, not in intensity, but in consistency. When you repeat greatness long enough, your mind starts believing it's who you are, and your life begins to reflect that identity in everything you do. Language is one of the most powerful forces shaping your identity, yet most people are unaware of the impact their words have on their beliefs, behaviors, and emotional state. Every time you speak, whether out loud or in your mind, you're reinforcing a narrative about who you are and what you believe is possible. Your brain is always listening, and it takes cues from the language you use to interpret reality. If you constantly say things like, I'm just not good at this, I always mess things up, or I'll never get it right, those phrases aren't harmless. They're commands. Repetition of those words programs your subconscious to treat those ideas as facts. The more you use disempowering language, the more your confidence erodes, your vision shrinks, and your internal world begins to reflect limitation rather than possibility. Words are not just descriptions. They are declarations. They don't just describe your life. They design it. The key to reprogramming your mind is to take full responsibility for the language you allow to live in your mouth and your mind. This means becoming hyper-aware of the phrases you use when you're under pressure, when you fail, when you're uncertain, or when things don't go as planned. Do you speak with patience and power or with frustration and defeat? Most people don't realize how often they use language that disqualifies them from success before they even begin. Phrases like, "I'm terrible with names," "I hate mornings," or "I'll never be organized" may feel casual, but they embed deep messages in your identity. The more you repeat these words, the more your actions align with them. If you keep telling yourself that you're disorganized, you'll start acting in ways that prove it to be true. But if you begin shifting that language, saying, "I'm learning to be more structured," or "I'm getting better every day," your mind adjusts to support that new direction. Upgrading your language isn't about lying to yourself or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing words that reflect growth, resilience, and possibility. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," try, "This is challenging, but I'm capable." Instead of, "I don't know how," shift to, "I'm learning as I go." These subtle changes have massive long-term effects. They turn obstacles into opportunities and failures into feedback. Language becomes the lens through which you view yourself and your world. It sets the tone for your habits, your emotional state, your relationships, and even your willingness to try again after setbacks. When your words elevate your mindset, your entire energy shifts, and that energy determines how people respond to you, how you respond to yourself, and how consistently you pursue your goals. Reprogramming begins with declaring who you want to become, not once, but repeatedly. You speak it into the atmosphere until it becomes routed in your thinking, your choices, and your self-image. You speak power, not weakness, growth, not stagnation, vision, not fear. And the more you practice this new language, the more naturally it becomes your identity. You begin living from the mindset you've programmed, not the one you inherited or absorbed. It starts with a single sentence, a single phrase, a new way of talking to yourself. And from that language, a new life begins to form. Old mental patterns don't just disappear on their own. They have to be disrupted, challenged, and replaced intentionally. Every time a self-limiting belief shows up, the ones that whisper, "You're not ready," "You always fail," or "This is too much for you," you are given a choice to believe it and shrink, or confront it and shift. These negative thought loops are often so deeply rooted in your subconscious that they feel like truth. But they are not truth. They are old echoes from experiences, criticisms, or moments of fear that were never re-evaluated. They come up not because you're broken, but because your brain is trying to protect you. The problem is that these protective thoughts often hold you back far more than they help. And until you disrupt them, they will continue to recycle themselves and run your life from the shadows. The process of interrupting a negative pattern starts with catching it in the moment. You have to become a witness to your own mind. When you notice the same defeating thought playing on repeat, pause. Don't judge it, observe it. Ask yourself, where did this thought come from? Whose voice does this really sound like? Is it even mine? The act of questioning breaks the automatic cycle. It creates a crack in the loop where awareness can enter. That awareness is everything, because when you become aware of the pattern, you gain the ability to break it. You can't fight what you can't see, but once you see it, you can confront it. Next comes the replacement. It's not enough to just stop a negative thought. You must actively install a new one in its place. If your mind says, you're not good enough, you replace it with, I am growing stronger every day. If it says, you're going to fail, you install, I am prepared and I trust the process. The key here is emotional engagement. You can't just say the new thought. You have to feel it. You have to speak it like you mean it, with energy, conviction, and presence. This emotional charge helps rewire the brain, making the new thought more memorable, more sticky, more believable. It also helps to use pattern interrupters, small physical or mental shifts that disrupt the momentum of negativity. This could be taking a deep breath, standing up and moving your body, speaking an affirmation out loud, or even snapping your fingers as a symbolic break in the loop. These simple actions signal to your brain that you're taking control, that a shift is happening, that the old script is no longer welcome. And the more you practice this, the more you interrupt, replace, and rewire, the weaker the old pattern becomes. Over time, your brain adapts. The negative thought may still show up, but it won't have the same grip on you. It becomes a whisper instead of a scream. And eventually, your new thought patterns become the default, not because you forced it once, but because you showed up with consistency and reprogrammed your responses through conscious repetition. The power is always in your hands. You're not stuck with the thoughts you inherited. You can replace them with thoughts you design. You just have to be willing to confront them, question them, and rewrite the mental story that defines your life. Environment plays a massive role in shaping your mindset, often more than most people realize. You can do all the inner work, repeat empowering affirmations, visualize your goals, and train your focus every day. But if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, doubt, distraction, or mediocrity, your progress will be slower and in many cases, eventually stalled. The people you talk to, the content you consume, the energy you absorb, all of these things are feeding your mind, either strengthening your reprogramming or sabotaging it. Most people fail not because they lack effort, but because they underestimate how much their environment influences their thoughts and identity. If you're trying to reprogram your mind for confidence and ambition, but your environment constantly reinforces fear, small thinking, and excuses, you're swimming upstream every single day. And no matter how strong you are, eventually a current wins. You have to take inventory of your surroundings with ruthless honesty. Who do you spend the most time with? What do you hear the most often? What are the dominant attitudes and behaviors in your circle? Do these things elevate your vision, or do they drag you back to who you used to be? Environment is not just physical. It's emotional, psychological, and even digital. The podcasts you listen to, the videos you watch, the social media accounts you follow. They all have a voice, and that voice is either supporting your new mindset or reinforcing your old one. You must learn to curate your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. The mind adapts to whatever it is most frequently exposed to. So if you want to level up your thinking, you must level up your surroundings. It doesn't mean cutting everyone off or living in isolation. It means being intentional. Spend more time with people who speak in terms of growth, vision, resilience, and purpose. Read books that stretch your thinking. Watch content that inspires action and expands your possibilities. Join groups or communities that challenge you to rise, not stay the same. Even if your current physical environment is limited, you can still construct a mental environment of greatness by controlling what enters your mind each day. What you feed your mind becomes your mindset, and your mindset becomes your life. Sometimes the shift begins by simply changing where you spend your time. If certain spaces drain your energy, limit your exposure. If certain people always bring negativity, create boundaries. If your workspace is cluttered and chaotic, organize it into something that reflects clarity and focus. Your outer world influences your inner world more than you think. When you walk into a space that represents order, possibility, and intention, your brain responds accordingly. The same is true when you walk into a room full of doubt and discouragement. Your mental energy contracts and your progress is harder to sustain. Protecting your environment is not about control. It's about alignment. Your environment should reflect the future you are building, not the past you're trying to escape. And when your surroundings match your aspirations, everything becomes easier. Momentum increases. Discipline becomes more natural. Growth accelerates. You no longer have to fight your way forward. Your environment begins to carry you in the direction you've chosen. That's the power of surrounding yourself with intention, purpose, and belief. It reinforces the mindset you've worked so hard to build until it becomes not just something you practice, but something you live in every moment.